Rahim. وَالْمَسْحُ عَلَى ظَاهِرِهِمَا, you make Masah on the top. In other words, the top that's facing the sky, so to say. خطوطا, drawing lines بالأصابع, with your fingers, من قبل الأصابع إلى الساق, from the toes towards the shins. And what is the proof for this? لحديث مغيرة بن شعبة, because of the hadith of مغيرة بن شعبة, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, that Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم وضع يديه على خفيه, he placed his hands on his khuf, ومدهما, and he pulled them من الأصابع, from the fingers, إلى أعلاهما, to the top, مسحة واحدة, one مسح, right? وكأني أنظر إلى أثر المسح, as though I am looking at the effects of the مسح على خف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, as though I'm looking at the effects of the مسح on the khuf of Rasulullah بالأصابع, with the fingers, right? ثم المسح على الظاهر حتم حتى لا يجوز على باطن الخف وعقبه وساقه. So next, I think there's a new ibarat, the new sabak starts from here today. Then masa ala zahir, upon the top, the outer, it is necessary to such an extent, la yajuza. You got anything on the zade, you know? Hatta, so hatta, so what's your hatta la yajuza ala ba, it's not permissible on the underside or the inside of the khuf, wa aqibihi, or the heel, wa saqihi, or the shin. Carry on. لأنه معدول به عن القياس, because this will be moving away from the qiyas. This masla معدول به عن القياس. What I say here is this. Remember, I told you, when something is established contrary to logic, then you restrict it to that. You not extend it. So if you look at the whole masla of masa, you got a you need to make wudu. Your wudu broke. You're making masah upon a khuf, etc. This is something which is not logically understood. So it is just something proven from the Sharia. So when something is not logically understood but is proven from the Sharia, you restrict it to that instance of the Sharia. That's why you say, ما ثبت على خلاف القياس فغيره لا يقاس عليه. That which is established contrary to logic, فغيره لا يقاس عليه. Besides that, will not be compared to it. It will not be analyzed to it, right? So, so he's saying there. So this is something which is what we also terms in fiqh terms. You done also in usul shashi, غير مدرك بالقياس, something which is not understood to logic, right? So, so what will be the فيراعى جميع ما ورد به الشرع. So everything which Sharia speaks about it, that will be considered. That will keep it exactly like that, right? Okay, carry on to the next one. Now there's a new lesson from there. Right. والبداية من الأصابع استحباب اعتبارا بالأصل والغسل. They're saying that when you start with your masah, you start from the toes. Why? Because two reasons. One is it's proven like that from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's how Nabi Sallallahu done it. And the second is, look here, the original, if you look at Masah al Khuf, what's the original? It is a replacement for washing the feet, isn't it? And when you wash your feet, you are supposed to start to wash from your toes. Remember that. I don't know if we discussed this before. I'm not sure if we discussed this before, but if you haven't discussed it, then it's a good time to discuss it now. But when you're washing your arms, generally, we're not speaking about now, but Masah, we're not speaking about we're not speaking about Masah, we're not speaking about Masah al-Khuf, we're just about general washing of the arms, washing of the feet. When you wash your arms, when you wash your feet, start from the fingertips or start from the toe tips. That is the correct, that is the adab and the etiquette, right? So they're saying in the asal, when you wash your feet, then you start from the toes. You start from the tips of the toes. So because Masah is a substitute, Masah is a substitute, like how we done, we done this Masah, that because tayammum is a substitute for ghusl, for wudu, and wudu, you have to wash the entire limb. You mustn't leave any portion unwashed. And since tayammum is a substitute for that, now you must cover when you're making the masah of your arms in tayammum, you must cover your entire arm. Remember? So similar, yeah, something similar. So because Masah of the Khuf is a substitute for washing it. So the same etiquette that applies in washing will apply in tayammum, sorry, in Masah al Khuf. So you'll also start from the tips of the toes. So والبداية من الأصابع, and starting from the tips استحباب, it is mustahab. Why? اعتبارا بالأصل, considering the original, وهو الغسل, and it is to wash, right? You can carry on. وفرض ذلك, right? Okay, now we just pause it for a moment. We discussed here, we said, what is the mustahab of making masa? The mustahab is to put your fingertips onto the tips of your toes and then to pull your fingers upright, isn't it? Isn't we done that, right? So that is the pull it upright towards your shin. That is now the full mustahab. But what is the bare minimum? Like also, you when you do wudu, when you do ghusl, you got the mustahab method of doing something, and then you got the bare minimum by which we'll say you done it. What is the bare minimum with regards to how long line should you pull? I repeat, what is the bare minimum for your masah to be valid as with regards to how long your line should be? So they say, if you look at here, they say, see here, if you look at your smallest finger on your hand, look at my smallest finger here. You see that if your line is as long as the smallest finger, so you got three lines, the equivalent of the small finger. You understood that? See there. وفرض ذلك, يعني فرض المسح, وفرض المسح, the فرض المسح مقدار ثلاث أصابع. It is the amount of three fingers. And I said min asabil yad, from the fingers of the hand. Are you with me? So at least three fingers you got. So you got three. You're obviously going to be pulling your hand like that. So three fingers. If your line's equal to three fingers, the area of the length of three fingers is done, right? وقال الخرخي من أصابع الرجل. But Imam Karhi say no. When we speak about fingers here, we don't speak about the fingers of the hand. We speak about the fingers of the feet. So interesting, in Arabic, you speak about fingers of asabi ul yad means fingers of the hand, and asabi ul rijl means fingers of the feet, which means the toe, so to say. So according to Imam Karhi, the area Imam is cover must be the minimum is three small toes area. So obviously it's just significantly lesser than your fingers, your toes. So it's much, much more lesser, right? But they say والأول أصح اعتبارا لآية المسح. But the first one to say that it must be the length of your fingers that is more correct. Why? اعتبارا لآية المسح. We say, look here. You understood what I'm saying? Say, look here. Why consider your feet? Consider you are making masah with your hands. What are you making masah with? You are making masah with your hands. So consider your hand. Do not consider your feet. Understood? Yes, you're making masah on your feet. You are making masah on your feet, but you are using your hands. So consider the fingers on your hands. Do not consider the toes on your feet. Are you with me? Is it clear? This thing. So this is like you can say a logical proof to say why should the area be minimum three fingers and not three small toes? Because your ala, your means, your instrument to accomplish the masah is with your hands. It is with your hands. So consider your hands. Don't consider your toes. Right? والأول أصح. The first opinion, which you say it must be the smallest of the three fingers, that is more correct. اعتبارا, considering the alat al-masjid for the means for which you're making the masah. Okay, read the next one, inshallah. Okay. So now we know it is permissible to make masah on the hoof, etc. Right? We now we know, but what are the things that prevent you from making masah? If there is a tear, in your hoof. Maybe it tears at the seam or it tears just anywhere. So to what tear is tolerable and what tear is not tolerable. So he's saying وَلَا يَجُوزُ الْمَسُ عَلَى خُفٍ فِيهِ خَرْقٌ. It is Masah is not correct. على خُفٍ on such a khuf فيه خرق in it is a tear. خرق كثير. There's a, you can say like a big tear, or you can say a significant tear. And what is a significant tear? You got Harkun Kabirun, and that makes more sense even. Yeah, I got in this kitab it says Harkun Kathirun. Let me just see the Shara also says Kathirun. But I'll go with your kitab anytime, inshallah. So Harkun Kabirun. So if there's a big tear, you cannot make Masah. If there's a small tear, you can make Masah. Are you with me? Right. So what is a big tear? What is a big tear? Look there, they're saying. So they got their Harkun Kabirun, a big tear. And the next sentence is Jumla Fa'aliyah. And this Jumla Fa'aliyah, you can say it is a hal, or it's a sifat. يتبين منه قدر ثلاث أصابع من أصابع الرجل. A big tear is that one that the extent of three fingers from the fingers of the feet yatabayanu is apparent, is exposed. You understood that? So what is the fingers of the feet? It is the toes, right? So if you look at your small toe, look at your small toe there, your small toe. If three tears, or rather the extent of three toes, that was, and I would imagine here you're speaking about the length of three tears, the length of three fingers. So if your tear is so long that it is as long as three small toes, then that is an intolerable tear. You understood? Are you with me? Because you won't take the full area of a toe, because remember, that tear is not exposed. Only when you move, then that thing like becomes open. You understand what I'm saying? To have the complete area of three toes to be exposed, you'll have to actually to cut away from it. You'll have to cut away from it. And obviously nobody will intentionally cut away from the sock. So what it basically means, like the area here would refer to like the length of three toes. Are you with me? So again, يتبين منه قدر ثلاث أصابع من أصابع الرجل. Right? وإن كان أقل من ذلك جاز. If there's a small tear, whether it is by the seam or not by the seam, and it is lesser than three toes, that will be acceptable. And why will it be acceptable? The reason why it will be acceptable, وإن كان أقل من جاز. Right? Okay, we'll give the reasons now why it will be acceptable. وقال زفر والشافعي لا يجوز وإن قل. Imam Zufar and Imam Shafi are very, very hard in this masala. They say, even if it's a small tear, even if it is lesser than three uh, small toes extent, still, just while we discuss this, now remember when we speak about khuf here, we speak about anything that qualifies as a khuf. Although in previous time, before the manufacture of plastic and rubber and all that type of thing, the only really durable material that was available was a leather thing, right? But if today, in today's age, you get any material that has the same conditions as a khuf, if you must remind me, please remind me, if when we finish the sabak, I must just give you the conditions of what what qualifies as a khuf. I can't remember now, is it in the sabak or not? But if it doesn't, there, just I'll do it for the benefit of the listeners. Right? What is, because nowadays you got a lot of products on the market. Remember, as I said in previous day before the industrialization, the only natural thing you would have was what was a leather thing. But now in today's with advancement in manufacture, you can make something that has the same qualities as a khuf. Like just briefly, maybe not just like it is as thick as a khuf. It is waterproof like a khuf. It can stand up on its own. It's durable. So it doesn't have to be leather. If anything has the same qualities as a leather khuf, then Bismillah, why not? You understand what I'm saying? You understood? I remember when the first, you can say, substitute of the khuf came out. I was speaking now maybe in like 2000 whatever. It was what they call the naval sock. The people that the Navy SEALs, those people who dive underwater. So that it had all the qualities of a leather sock. So so uh, but as I said, we will do that qualities before we terminate the lesson. If I forget, you will remind me, inshallah. But so the same thing I'm telling you here, if that same khuf, this rubber sock or this whatever it is, if it has the same quality, same tear, which is more than the extent of three small toes, then it won't be tolerable. If it is lesser than three small toes, then it will be tolerable. Right? Are you with me? So I was telling Imam Shafi is very firm in this masala. He say even a small tear is not tolerable, right? He says, لا يجوز وإن قال لأنه لما وجب غسل بعدي يجب غسل الباقي. What he's saying is, Imam Shafi is saying, this is right what he's saying. He's saying, that, look here, you don't wash because when the thing is covered, right? Why don't you wash your feet? You make masah because your whole foot is covered, right? So if a small portion is exposed, that means you're supposed to wash that portion. And there's no example in Shariat where you combine between washing and masah. So once a small portion is exposed, it would mean you must wash that portion. And if you mean wash that portion, we know you won't gather between washing and masah. So you might as well take off the khuf and wash the whole foot. Understand what I'm saying? You got his reasoning. Let me look at it again and see. He says, لأنه لما وجب غسل بعدي. He says, even if we say badi means bada yabdu, الصبح bada, he say when it is becomes wajib to wash the exposed portion, right? Because now the idea of a khuf is to cover your feet, so you make masah upon it. But now here you got a small portion that is exposed. So technically speaking, that portion which is exposed, you're supposed to wash it, right? This is his reasoning. So you must wash the exposed portion, and then um, right. So lama wajaba ghusl baqi. Then it's not possible. How can you wash only the small portion and you make the masah on the rest? Doesn't make sense. كيف نجمع بين الغسل والمسح? So we say rather one time take the whole khuf out and wash the whole thing, even if that get cut is very small. Our reasoning is simple, pretty simple. Our reason is taken from a principle that I've mentioned to you several times in the past, and it is al-haraju madfu'un, that when there's unnecessary difficulty in something, then the Sharia creates some leeway for you. And the leeway is this, that it's not possible that your khuf will be free of any type of cuts and tears. And then when the khuf get old, etc., then naturally it will get and especially maybe like nowadays we go to the masjid, you have big thick carpets, and you have solid paved roads. In previous time where the masjid would be raw, the roads would be raw, etc. So obviously the khuf the chances of it getting tear would have been very great. So if you're going to say every time there's a small cut on a person's khuf, if you take his khuf off, it will be a great deal of difficulty in it. It will be a great deal. So for the cases, in the interest of ease, I told you there's two principles here. Al-haraju madfu'un, the difficulty is alleviated. Or there's another principle also that you've done already. If you never done it in Usul al-Fiqh, you'll do it when you do the Mufti course. إِذَا ضَاقَ الْأَمْرُ اتَّسَعَ. When the matter becomes very, very difficult, and this is not for me and you to decide, this is what the Shariah will decide, right? So you can't say, oh, it's very difficult now. Oh, it's very cold today. So إذا ضاق الأمر اتصل. So today I'm not going to wake up for Fajr. Plus there's no hot water, etc. Not what you and me decide. It's what the Sharia decides. So إذا ضاق الأمر اتصل. When there is difficulty in a matter, then Sharia creates some expense. So I was telling you, especially in previous times when the roads were not pakki, it was raw roads. So it's very difficult that a person's khuf will be 100% tear free or cut free, whatever you're saying. So we will obviously try. ولنا أن الخفاف لا تخلو عن قليل خرق عادة. We say look here, the khufs, جمع khufun, جمع khifaf, right? The khufs لا تخلو. It is not free, 100% free, عن قليل خرق, from small cuts, generally عادة, right? So it's very, very rare, right? فليلحقهم الحرج في النزع. So if we're going to say every time your khuf gets a small tear, you have to remove it. That means there will be haraj, there will be difficulty. And what I told you, al haraj madfu'un. So there will be difficulty in nazai, in removing it. But yes, long tear, long cuts, long tears, that is a rarity. It is a rarity. It's not something that happens often. So if we say that when there's a big tear in your khuf, you have to take it out, we're not really inconveniencing somebody for something because it's not a common occurrence. You understood? As we're saying, وَتَخْلُو عَنِ الْكَثِيرِ. But generally, the khuf is free from big tears. فَلَا حَرَجْ. So there's no difficulty in it, right? There's no real difficulty in it. So as I said, like I told you, that if something is a common occurrence, then it's then it will be difficult. There's another principle here. It's just an-nadiru kal ma'dum. It's when something happens very rarely, then you don't consider it. You don't give it any importance. You don't, you ignore it. And it's like non-existent. Once in a while, somebody do something, like you say, once in a while, the masjid gets full completely only for Eid namaz. So does that mean you must build a completely big and new masjid? No, because something which happens very rarely is like non-existent. So why waste so much money to expand the masjid for something which is nadir, which hardly happens? Nadir means it hardly happens. It's like non-existent. So you're saying that three three fingers and more is a very rare occurrence. It hardly happens. So to say that you must remove your khuf and you must wash your feet again completely when there's a big day, you are not really seriously inconveniencing something because it will happen once in a blue moon. Are you with me? That's what you're saying there. والكثير right. أن ينكشف قدر 3 أصابع من رجلي أصغرها والصحيح. Okay, that's a new ibarah there. We will do that tomorrow, inshallah. We'll start from there. بس سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. I hope everything is clear. If everybody doesn't understand anything, you can also there is what you call it there on the app where you can put the question if anybody has any questions, inshallah.